But I understand it all, what you're talking about, getting them home. That I understand, because it ties into driver education in one student. I just got a brochure just the other day about that. How it's a real big question about driving with one student. It's really puts you right on the borderline. And they say he said, she said. Here we go. I understand that.
So, you mentioned, if you want to add, there is discretionary power too if it's an offense. There is some, what I call wiggle room in there too, that you want to use. That, like, if you look at the high school where it says, alternative punishment may be used when appropriate. You have some wiggle room in that, in the high school plan. I don't know if it says that in middle school. I think it probably does. So it gives you some leeway there too, which is what you want. You don't want anything just so set in stone that you have no bound or no flexibility in that process too. Because there are times where it just happens.
Situations are
yeah,
always
we're all of a sudden,
always.
well, we're gonna, we could do this, but this is what we're going to do instead. It might be restitution or something like that. But you could have every discipline situation usually has a little different twist to it too.
The ironic thing, going back to what Mike said, is the person that they hired worked himself out of the job. Because it was so unpleasant for the kids to be in an isolated room. They hated it. They absolutely hated it, and they did everything to manipulate the situation so that they would not get in that situation. And it's very effective, extremely effective, but it's expensive too.
So we only had to pay for a year or two if that person was a tiger, right?
But he also took care of, took care of Mrs. Sullivan and things like that. So I did that, but I understand where you're going.
So where does that leave us with this issue?
So, Mike, on page 15 is the elementary. If on level 1, it says up to 180 minutes. That would not be a problem, right? The consequences for level 2 of elementary all have, at level 2, they all have ranges of more than 180 minutes already, so I don't think we have to put that there. The range is up to half a day, or full days, or 5 days, or... So does it look in the elementary like the only, it's level 1, we'd add the up to 180 minutes? Am I right?
On first, second, third offense.
First, second, third, those offenses under level 1. Yeah, minor level 1 problems.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if...
Yeah, that would be the suggestion. You could
Yeah.
live with that.
Yeah.
Okay, if we look at page 21 then at, make sure, Dave, I'm saying this the way that you're talking about. On page 21, it would be saying in that first set of boxes up at the top, minor level 1, that the range goes up to 180 minutes. Okay? And everything in level 2, the next box down, is already more than 180 minutes. So don't need to change that. If we go to the high school, and I'm seeing that there are not page numbers when we get that way here.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Okay. The high school discipline code is on page 23, I believe. And the suggestion would be for levels 1, or first, second, for that level 1 again, that it be up to 180 minutes. You won't have to use it, but it could be up to 180 minutes. Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, right now our detentions are 40 minutes. So, yeah, I guess,
Doesn't mean that it has to be more than that. It's saying that it could be up to.
Is that going to be difficult to keep it consistent? Or, I don't know.
I would probably still use 40 minutes.
well, that's probably what I'll do. I mean, truly, 40 minutes after school, and for the high school, it's easier for a kid to do that because they have transportation for the most part.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I guess I'll use my high school BLT in our discussion. They haven't come up, they seem satisfied with what we've got for our discipline code. And, suspension time is that day plus the 40 minutes too of their own time. And that's probably, somebody mentioned that, I think Chris were asking about that. There is after school time, and that's truly, that's their time. And that's a pretty effective time. And if, you talk to a kid who spent 3 days in that little room, that's a long time for a kid. They come out and they almost need counseling when they walk out. It's a long time. Yeah, so, I would probably continue to follow this, but I can understand that there might be some additional time we need to put on that we could do that.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well, if Johnny comes in one day and then 3 days later comes in again, I guess you can just keep bumping the minutes up.
And that's what happens. First offense is usually 40 minutes. The second offense of a level 1 is 2 detentions, so you're looking at 2 40-minute detentions, and then it starts up in the ante as it goes.
What amount of time is that second offense? Is it within a week, a semester, a year?
What do you mean?
If little Johnny pulls somebody's hair today and 2 months later he does the same thing, is that considered the second offense?
Yeah, that'd be the second offense. We go by semesters, so if they pick up something in August and 2 months later they pick up another one, that's their second level 1 in a semester. Then it resets at the end of the first semester and they go back to 0.
The middle school and elementary reset at quarters.
Why is that different? Just the way it is?
I think we talked about that, for the little ones. Sometimes you're still kind of training them in the process. We think once we get them into high school, they pretty much should know and understand what the rights and wrongs are.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't have a clean slate after each quarter. And so.
No, I think that's good. I would
Yeah.
like to see that go to the middle
Yeah.
school myself.
The way ours is by quarter was simply done when we, 4 years ago, when we started looking at policies and when we were developing what the middle school schedule looked like, what the middle school this looked like, what the middle school that was going to look like. We looked at discipline code, and that team of teachers at that time just basically said we're going to go by quarter. And that was the way that we started, and we haven't changed since then. So.
I think for 99% of the kids, we talk about the tip of the triangle kids. The kids at the tip of the triangle, it wouldn't matter if they're on quarters or semesters, it's problematic. I don't think it defeats the purpose at those ages, because for a kid that truly doesn't screw up a lot of the time, because a lot of middle school kids will have 1 or 2 or 3 referrals in a year, and that's it, and they're all level 1. Then the restaging it again at the end of the quarter, I think makes sense for kids. The kids that are the tip of the triangle, that we have the fewest of, but the most problems with, it really wouldn't matter one way or another. They get them so fast, honestly, that we could set them every 4.5 weeks and they'd still have problems.
So do we need a motion to change?
Well, what we would
Just a
do
recommendation.
would be, you've got changes that Kevin has suggested that I attached that sheet to the front of the handbook. And what you would be doing would be accepting Denny's suggestion for a change with failures, Kevin's suggestions that are on the front of that page, as well as up to 180 minutes for level 1 at all 3 levels. And we just know that that's part of what the recommendation is for change on this one, if you approve it.